I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Bootz Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Bootz. Today we will cover a variety of topics in regards to the Dallas Cowboys. And today seems like a normal day for most of us. Just a May 6th day out there, nothing going on, just a Monday. But to Doug Free and the Dallas Cowboys, this is a very important day. The Cowboys have given Doug Free, according to most sources along the internet, an ultimatum to either take a pay cut or find a new home or a new team. Most of this is in regards to the play of Doug Free the last few years, which has been downright awful. So the last couple years, Doug Free started out at left tackle, or started at left tackle, and didn't have a great year. We switched him with Tyron Smith, moved him to right tackle, and he had a worse year. And this is after showing signs that he might be a future left tackle or even a right tackle candidate for the long haul. He struggles in pass protection, and he's not really a factor in run play. So, looking at some of these deficiencies in his game, the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones and staff, are now looking towards upgrading that position. One of the upgrades that the Cowboys were going to look at was Tyson Clabo, the right tackle for the Atlanta Falcons. He has since, according to reports, signed a one-year deal with the Miami Dolphins. Now, a lot of us Cowboy fans have looked at that and said, well, we lost a potentially good player, which we did if we were going to be in that business. It looks like the Cowboys were going to try to, and this is all my theory, I don't know if this is factual, but I think the Cowboys, because we have a slight, or we don't have a lot of money in salary cap right now, I think the Cowboys were going to say, okay, let's see who goes first. Whichever one goes first out of Clabo and Eric Winston, because we had been rumored to be talking to both of them in regards to being a Dallas Cowboy right tackle. It looks like they said whichever one goes first will lowball the second guy. So if Clabo gets signed and we tell Winston, hey, look, well, he's a better player, or they would have signed you, and since he signed for this 1 year, 3.5 or whatever he signed for, how about we do 1.9 or 2.0 1 year with you? That's what it seemed like the Cowboys, or that's what it seems like to me that they've done. If Winston would have went first, they would have lowballed Clabo and said, well, if you were a better right tackle, you would have been signed. For all these little different little nuances can save the Cowboys money. So the Cowboys didn't need to panic. They didn't care if one of the guys went. They knew they were going to probably sign the other. Now, the ball is on, Doug Free's court right now. I don't think either way, whether he takes a pay cut or not, is he still going to remain the starting right tackle for the Cowboys. He was such a liability this year, and I don't know what the reason is. I'm hearing all these, Mickey Spagnola, a beat writer for the Dallas Cowboys, is saying something about him not embracing the scheme. It's not that, and if it is that, if Bill Callahan is telling him to do certain things with his technique and he's not embracing it, that doesn't explain the lack of physical presence that he brings in run games. It doesn't explain how he's being dominated. I mean, it's one thing if you don't practice the right technique and you don't get your right foot back and get your hand positioning, but to allow someone to just destroy you at the point of contact is just there's no answer for that. He's just not physical enough to play that position and be an important or an integral piece to the run game. So the Cowboys hopefully will be making a decision quickly in regards to improving that position. I feel like you gave Tony Romo all this money. You owe that to him and the fans, because there are fans on the fence that are saying they didn't want Tony. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of them, and rightfully so. I see what you see, but in all due respect, you have to protect that $100 million or possible $100 million investment. It would be foolish to roll out there, have Doug Free miss a block, and then Tony Romo ends up on his shoulder, his collarbone getting cracked, or constant penalties. He led our team. I believe he led, Doug Free led the NFL in penalties from an offensive lineman. Tony doesn't need to keep being in 2nd and 19, 3rd and 19. How many times have we seen and he comes through in these situations, at least during the regular season. But let's not forget that a lot of times for Tony, it's never 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10 or even 3rd and 10. There's always a holding or a penalty or some idiotic brain fart that our team seems to have in these positions, putting Tony in more difficult spots. So we do need to upgrade that position. Is Eric Winston a better player than Claybo? No, he's not. Not according to everything that I've seen on him. But both players are definitely better in both aspects. Regardless of what you hear about Eric Winston, he has been a better player his entire career, whether at Miami or in the NFL, than Doug Free. He's reliable. He is consistent. He's a very good pass blocker, and he is better than Doug Free in the run game. So all of this talk, I'm starting to hear people act like Winston isn't a better player than Free. He's a better player than Doug Free. So that being said, today, hopefully sometime today, we'll be hearing about either a cut or a sign or a renegotiation or even a pay cut. But at some point, I need to hear cut by somebody, something, whether it's a pay cut or just getting removed from the team. So we'll see. We'll keep abreast on that situation and see what unfolds by the end of the day today. So moving on to how important that right tackle position is for the Cowboys. I think coaches, when they enter the draft, when they try to improve the team, and I believe this, it's my theory. I don't know that other people believe it, but I believe teams put their worst game in. They put in the tape in. Whatever the worst game of the season is. Now, I know they use a lot of data and they collect a lot of information, but I think this is the worst game. How can we make sure next year that team doesn't show up again? I believe teams do that. That's how they improve their teams. The Dallas Cowboys, to me, their worst game was the Washington Redskin game. I believe that playoff game, that Washington Redskin playoff game, was their worst game. Not necessarily by score. Okay? So you can tell me, oh, they lost it. It has, the Falcons game, you could say that. This game had implications on it. And you can tell by the actions of the organization in firing Rob Ryan that that's exactly how important and how ugly this game was. Because they fired a defensive coordinator who you couldn't pinpoint and blame for our defensive woes, considering he lost a lot of starters during the season. So I believe the Cowboys look at that game and say, how can we get better and this game or this team not show up on Sundays ever again? So that's why the draft, people giving us F drafts and C drafts and D drafts. I told you I don't do draft grades, but if you're going to prematurely grade these drafts, understand that the Cowboys did not want to look like they looked against the Redskins. And case in point, we all talk about the interceptions Tony Romo threw, and he did. That's his. I don't have to defend that. He's got to defend that. He threw it. I didn't throw him. So that being said, we do have to at least understand that on that play, that last interception that Tony Romo threw, there was nothing down the field, and his best option was a running back. When your best option is a running back, you're in trouble as an offense. And that seems to get lost in the translation of what happened in that game. Tony's best option was a check down pass to the running back. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a good option in some instances, but when the game's on the line, when everything is on the line, that can't be your option. Hence, the 2013 draft. That's why you bring in Escobar. You bring in Williams. You bring in Randall. That's why you bring in some of these players. Because if you could plug those players into that game, guess what? When Des Bryant goes down and when Miles Austin goes down, you can bring in a Williams, the kid from Baylor. You could bring in Escobar. These are other options. And that's what Tony needs to succeed. He can't just keep throwing the ball to Witten, You know, you can't just keep throwing the ball. And he doesn't keep throwing the ball to Dez. Dez has some games, but it's not like he's Brandon Marshall where, you know, he's going to have 15, 17 catches, 21 catches in a game or whatever. We don't do it like that. So the draft to me, and I hate to keep, you know, laboring on it, but that's why I didn't think the Cowboys draft was bad. And you're starting to hear people start to warm up to this Travis Frederick pick, our center from Wisconsin. I'm starting to see some more positive articles. It looks like people now are starting to watch film on it because everybody wants to know, what did we miss? Dallas got this. Let's see what we missed. So I'm starting to hear more people start to embrace the pick and starting to create the value. But if you don't watch film, like I said, you're going to hate the pick. So go back, watch some film on that kid. But, you know, doing that, we got killed because of the pick, and we also got killed because of the trade chart, you know. And I want to say this, and I got my own theories, and sometimes people, you know, you may not believe or understand where they're coming from. Sometimes I don't even know where the hell they're coming from. But I will say this: the draft chart is you know, that's the Bible in the draft. You know, that's the Bible. That's what they use and go by. But I believe they have other versions, like the King James version or the New International version. I think they have different versions. And what I mean by that is, everybody said this was a bad draft year. This was a bad draft. You're not going to get star players. Everything was negative going into the draft. Let's not act like everybody thought this was a great draft. Quarterbacks didn't go until late, and then the ones that went high, everybody was second guessing why they took them that high. So if this was a bad talent pool, then how could your draft chart be the same as a chart with a bunch of talent in it? So if you're telling me the second round value should be this, or first round value should be that, well, yeah, well, maybe it should be if this was deemed a good draft. Then, yeah, you should get that extra second. But if it's a bad draft and I'm getting a bad or lesser grade of players, then why should I still get that second round pick when I know the value isn't the same? So I think that when Jerry was trying to tell you that there are different charts that they use, they didn't go into much dialect or I'm sorry, they go into much dialogue about what differentiated the draft chart. I believe the draft chart changes with the talent pool of the draft. Next year's draft, when the players that are coming out next year, you best believe there are going to be trades that are higher value picks, because the draft talent at the top from the door, whether it's Jadeveon Clowney, whether it's Johnny Manziel, whoever it is, that draft chart is going to be like last year's with RG3. Look how much the Rams received for allowing the Redskins to take RG3, because these are once in a generation type players, whether it be Luck or whether it be RG3. So I just want to throw that out there when people talk about we got robbed on the trade. You can't get robbed if if you're not getting anything. You want us to get a third round pick. This is a low quality. So that's just my belief there with that theory. So one thing I need fans and the media to stop trying to do is stop trying to put Tim Tebow on this team. I mean, I need that to stop. Like right now, I'm hoping that this is the last time Tim Tebow's mentioned, you know, in conjunction with the Dallas Cowboys, because he doesn't offer this team anything. He doesn't bring anything to this team, because that requires taking Tony Romo off the field. And we know this organization believes that Tony Romo is the best option to win. I believe that. If you've been watching football as long as Tony's been in the league, then you believe that. So that gives us the best option to win. I don't need the circus act that comes with Tebow. I don't need that. We have enough of a reality show in Dallas with Jerry Jones and company that we don't need the Tim Tebow. So let's stop that. Matter of fact, we're not going to say that anymore. Let's shut it down right there. So another thing, and this is probably going to be me closing it out. I told you I'm not going to keep you long here. But the zone read offense that is, you know, being employed throughout the league, when you look at, especially in our division with the Redskins, and we're pontificating or speculating that the Eagles will be using some of that as well. I don't know how they're going to do it with Matt Barkley, but I'm sure you're going to see something with Vic. And I believe Vic is in a, we talked about Doug Free. This has been a big day for Doug Free. Very pivotal day. This is a pivotal year for Michael Vick, because he can flourish and light the league up. And if they capture that, you know, Chip Kelly and the Philadelphia Eagles, this kid could thrive and he could be back. And I'm back, guys. You know, we seen it happen with Charles Woodson. We seen it happen with Randy Moss. Remember when they went to the Raiders and then you didn't hear about them anymore? And then they were bums and everybody goes to the Raiders to die. And then Charles Woodson comes back and goes to the Packers. And then Randy Moss goes to the Patriots, and then everybody's wrong. We was just playing. Everybody's wrong. So it can happen. Don't think that Vic is done. Let's not get into work, go to work talking that stuff, because I don't need the Dallas Cowboy fans to conjure the Eagles back into the thick of things. We don't need that. But that being said, we have to, in Dallas, I don't know how we're duplicating. How are we going to stop this? We didn't stop it last year. Now, we didn't really do a good job of it last year. In the last game, we had quarterbacks, you know, limping and hopping for first downs on our defense. Regardless of who was out there, the quarterback was still limping. But I don't think you can prepare for it unless you have a player that can do that in practice. I'm a firm believer in, if you can't practice it, then you can't defend it, because you have to stress your defense out. So what is this team gonna do? What, are they gonna put Skandrick at the you know, have him emulate RG3 in practice, or emulate Michael Vick? I mean, Skandrick has a hard enough time emulating a defensive back when it comes to tackling, especially. So I want a quarterback behind center that actually can implement some of that zone read stuff so our defense can see it in practice. Now, I'm not talking about replacing Tony. I'm just saying we need another an ancillary piece to our offense. So if the Cowboys had went out and got a Dennis Dixon, or went out and got invested in a Vince Young or somebody, just to be able to run some of this stuff, you know, so we can prepare for it. And I think that's one of the reasons why our pants were caught down against the Redskins, because we just couldn't. We didn't prepare for it. How could we prepare for it? You can't put Tony back there. Kyle Orton can't run like that. So how are we going to prepare for it? I think that's big. So I think that the Cowboys need to start going that way, or getting in that mix. So, because that's what I worry about the most. I worry about the zone read stuff. I worry about, you know, I don't want to see DeMarcus Ware ever look as bad as he looked in that Redskins game. I don't care how many shoulder surgeries he needed or whatever he needed. I do not ever want to see him look as bad as he looked in that game. So, that being said, guys, let's keep our ears open today. Hopefully there's some good news in regards to signing, bringing in. I need to hear all that pay cut, renegotiate. I need to hear all of those different types of phrases, so we can improve. That'll be, to me, the last and final piece, improving that right tackle position. Because I'm going to tell you right now, guys, if you think that Doug Free is going to be the answer and come back and rebound, and 2 years ago when he did make that marvelous block against the Eagles and Felix Jones goes sprinting down, if you think we're getting that back, you're wrong. You're wrong. And that's when you start to, you know, to see Tony taking way too many shots. That position has to be upgraded, and it has to be upgraded ASAP so they can go into camp and prepare. Now, I'm going to close with this. Mini camps are approaching us this week, so we'll get a chance to hear, see, smell the young talent coming onto the Dallas Cowboys. So we hope and pray that no injuries, and hope that the next show I'll do will probably be a post-rookie mini camp show. Your boy Ron Leary will be there he'll be your guard. Looks like they're trying to determine if he can, if they're getting some more, they want to get a look-see at him and see if he can possibly push for one of these guard positions. He's a massive dude, little bit of athleticism. If you look at his size versus his athleticism, he has a lot of athleticism if you look at take it into proportion to his size. So, but anyway, we're going to look at these guard situations, and don't be surprised. I heard that we have a standing offer that's just out there. Brandon Moore wants to, you know, the older guard from the Jets who never missed a game in like forever. Stability, dependency, all those things. I think that's a guy that keep your eye on. You might see something or hear something about that if he's still on the, you know, we have offers to a few guys that are out there. I guess they're just mulling it over or waiting to see if something better comes along. So the good thing about us, last thing, good thing about this Winston thing, Eric Winston, the right tackle, is there wasn't a whole lot of, Claybo only went for a 1-year deal, so it's not like we got to get in bed with this dude for 3 or 4 years. It's only a one-year deal that that we'll probably have to invest in Eric Winston. So, and you're not asking Eric. Here's another thing, a little caveat to it. You're not asking Eric Winston to come here and do anything more than he did with the Texans. We're going to throw the ball a lot, and we're going to run the football. So we kind of throw to set up the run. That's kind of how things are in Dallas. That's how they do with the Texans. Their zone blocking scheme is a little different, but for the most part, we're not putting any stress. We're not asking him to do something that he hasn't done, like we did with Doug Free. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in once again. Subscribe to my page. Definitely click the thumbs up button. And if you have any questions or comments, email bootsports at yahoo.com. One of my buddies who also helps me out with the show, Dwayne Green, you can follow him at Mossberg on Twitter. You can also follow me at Jerry_Holman. Go Cowboys, Cowboy Nation. We will be back this year. This schedule's looking great. Get ready to be talking smack, elbowing people at work. We're going to have a good time this year, this football season. Nobody's going to take that away from you. I'm out of here. Have a good one.